Hello and welcome to Zeus Reviews. In this video I'll be reviewing the Halo Vision Dashcam from Road Angel. It's a dashcam that doubles as a rear view mirror, but does it do either job well? Let's find out. So this is the Halo Vision Dashcam, but if you go to the Road Angel website you'll notice that they also offer the Halo View Dashcam. The main difference is that the Halo View has a parking aid mode, meaning the mirror acts as your reverse camera with the parking guidelines. It's particularly useful if you've got a van or a vehicle where your rear visibility isn't that great. The rear camera is also waterproof, so you can stick it outside the vehicle for a better view. The Halo Vision does not have that feature, and the rear camera design is slightly different, but apart from that, the two dashcams are pretty much the same thing. So if you're looking to buy either one, hopefully you'll find this review helpful. I got my dashcam installed by Halfords when I bought it, so I can't really do a proper unboxing. But just for reference, inside the box you get the front dashcam, the rear camera, a cable to connect them together, the mini USB power cable and adapter, a trim tool to hide all the cables, two mounting bands to connect the dashcam on top of your existing rearview mirror, a 3M sticker for the rear camera, and this quick start guide. The Halo Vision supports microSD card with up to 128GB of storage. I went with a 32GB card, but it gets full pretty quickly, so I'd recommend getting something bigger. Unfortunately, there's no microSD card included in the box, so you need to get that yourself. You also have to buy the hardwire kit separately if you don't want to keep the dashcam plugged into your cigarette lighter or USB port. Let's take a closer look at the dashcam itself, and we'll start with the front, which is obviously the rearview mirror. This also houses the 10-inch LCD touchscreen, which you can turn on and off by pressing the power button at the bottom here. The bottom also has two microphones for recording audio inside the car, but if you're like me, you'll probably mute this the second you turn it on. On the top, we've got a mini USB port for the power supply, the rear camera port, which connects the rear camera to the mirror, and a little slot for the microSD card, and you can see it just clicks into place like so. Next to that is a port for the GPS, but as far as I know, this dashcam doesn't support GPS functionality, and you can see that the port is covered anyway, so I have no idea why that's there. But anyway, moving over to the back, we've got these two rubber straps, which is what you use to connect this to your existing rearview mirror, and we've got a speaker so you can listen to your recordings or whatever announcements the dashcam makes. Obviously, I've muted the speaker because I just find it annoying, but I'll turn it on for this video so you can hear what it sounds like. There's also a tiny hole here which you can use to reset the device if you ever need to, and also on the back obviously is the front dashcam, which records content at 1440p, which is slightly better than the 1080p resolution of the rear camera. You can move the lens up, down, left and right to adjust your recording angle, and you can slide the whole unit out further to make sure that it fits properly on your mirror. Let's go put this in the car and see what that looks like. This is my original rearview mirror, and you can see the visibility is decent from the back window. We pop the Halo Vision on top like so, using the two straps on the back to fix it into place. Like I mentioned before, you can extend the unit to make sure it fits properly on your rearview mirror. Just note that depending on how wide it is, you might have issues when pulling the passenger's sun visor down. But with it installed, you can see that even just using it as a normal rearview mirror, visibility is better than my original one already, which is excellent. Let me just plug in the cables as well, and you can see that I've got them hidden along the lining of the car, so the Halfords team did a fantastic job with the installation. The power cable goes up from here, then moves along to the A-pillar, and it goes down to the fuse box. For reference, this car is a 2017 Skoda Octavia. The fuse box is behind the glove compartment and it is a hassle to get to. But the camera has been hardwired, meaning it will run all the time, even when the car is off. The other cable, which connects the mirror to the rear camera, follows a similar path. So it goes through the top of the windshield here, then along the door lining, through the back and along the top of the rear window. The rear camera has been attached using the 3M sticker and it's pretty secure. You can adjust the angle of the camera up and down by turning it like so, but there's no option to turn it left or right like the front dashcam. If we step out of the car for a second, you'll see that we've got tinted glass at the back here and the brake light is right at the top. I was worried that this would affect visibility for the rear camera, but I'm happy to say it's been great so far. Nighttime visibility can be an issue, but I'll talk more about that later. Now, technically, there's nothing stopping you from installing the camera on the outside of the vehicle for better visibility, but it's not waterproof, so that probably won't last long. If you want an external installation, you may want to consider the Halo View instead. Something else to note for the installation is that this car is a hatchback with a rear wiper. When I got the camera installed, I purposely had it moved down towards the center of the rear window so that it would be in the path of the wiper. Whenever it's raining, I just turn the wiper on and it gets rid of any rain droplets and keeps visibility clear. That's something you may want to consider when thinking about placement in your own vehicle. If you don't have a rear wiper, you can also buy transparent hydrophobic stickers. You put one in front of the camera's recording area and it will repel water. You can do the same thing for the front dash cam. Something else worth mentioning, and again this really depends on your vehicle's specific make and model, but when you're installing the rear camera on a hatchback, try to do it with the boot open, because that gives you a better idea of how much cable you need. You can see I've got a bit of cable dangling down here when the boot is closed. That's so when I open the boot, the cable doesn't get stretched or cause any issues. If you install it with the boot shut, it pulls on the cable when you open the boot, and that could cause some damage to the camera port or connection. Now that we've gone over how the cameras have been installed, let's take a look at how they actually work. Right now the screen is off, and you can use this as a normal rear view mirror if you wanted to, which is useful for nighttime driving. This is what my rear visibility looks like, and you can see the dangling bit of cable at the back doesn't really get in the way. As soon as I start the ignition, the screen turns on and switches automatically to the rear camera. So you can see the field of view is wider than what I could see in the mirror, and it covers my blind spots pretty well. It's a cloudy day, but visibility is excellent even though the rear window is tinted. What's great is that you can adjust what you see on screen by swiping up and down. So if I want to see more of the pavement, for example, if I'm doing reverse parking, I can swipe down and angle it like so. Or when I'm driving, I might want the angle to be higher, so it's really handy that I can adjust it from here. If I swipe to the left, I can switch to the front camera. As with the rear camera, visibility is excellent, and I'll show you some recorded footage a bit later. The windshield is obviously not tinted, and this camera records at a higher resolution, so the recording from this should be better than the one from the rear camera. And just like that one, you can adjust it up and down using the touchscreen. But because the camera is on the left side of the mirror, it ends up recording more of the passenger side of the car than the driver's. For left-hand drive cars, this is excellent. For right-hand drive cars, I think people would prefer to have the camera record more of what the driver sees. But in either case, you do get a fairly wide-angle recording, so it's not a huge deal. And as I mentioned earlier, you can adjust the camera up, down, left and right to get a decent angle. There's a limit to how much you can adjust it, and it's tempting to just move the whole mirror, but that can lead to weird positioning because of how reflective the screen is. To show you what I mean, I'm going to turn the screen off by pressing the power button. It's still recording, by the way, even though the screen is off, which is excellent. So now, this is a normal rear view mirror, and for it to work properly when I'm driving, I have to angle it towards myself so I can see through the back window. But with the dash cam, moving the mirror like this means that the front camera is now recording diagonally instead of recording straight ahead, even if I've adjusted the camera angle. So to fix that, I have to move the mirror to make sure that the camera records properly. It took a while for me to get used to how the mirror should be positioned. Every time I get into the car, I instinctively adjust the mirror to face me, then I remember the camera and put it back to how it was. And if you've got kids in the back, or maybe a baby seat or something, and you want to have a quick look to make sure everything's fine, you could switch the screen off, but the angle is going to be wrong, so it's probably easier to do an over-the-shoulder check. Similarly, another issue is that the display is darker than a normal mirror, but just as reflective. I'm sure you'll have noticed this in the recording as well. There weren't a lot of reviews on YouTube when I decided to get this, and it looked okay in the few videos that I watched. But seeing it in person, I can tell you that the screen is not as bright as it should be. You can adjust the brightness by swiping up and down on the right side, and I always have it at maximum brightness just so I can see things properly. But even at max brightness, it's not always bright enough to cancel out the glare. And so, when I've got the camera facing forward, I end up seeing a lot of reflections on the screen coming from the passenger side of the vehicle. And if I've got a passenger in the car, I end up seeing their face in the mirror, which is super distracting, because who wants awkward eye contact when you're trying to drive? So to fix that issue, I have to angle the mirror upwards slightly to avoid seeing anything other than the screen. And that means the camera is recording downward, so I have to adjust the lens upwards so it's recording straight again. And so this is the ideal angle for my car when I'm driving, which definitely felt weird the first few times I tried it. But after a while, you just get used to it. If you've got a sunroof, then maybe you'll get reflections from up above, so you'll have to figure out a different angle that works for you, but for my car this works pretty well, even though it blocks the passenger's sun visor. But that's their problem. That's what they get for trying to make awkward eye contact. Also, you need to take into account how fat the center attachment is in your car, because this thing might end up in your recordings and it might block the view of what's going on the driver's side of the vehicle. So there are a lot of things to consider, but once you've got it set, it works well and you never need to do it again. Something else you need to get used to is the fact that this is attached on top of your existing mirror, so it does stick out quite a bit. For me, it felt like the screen was just immediately right in my face. The only solution was moving my seat back to get a bit of distance, but then that ruined my driving position, so again, I just had to get used to the screen being closer to my face than I was used to. The last, and perhaps most important thing I want to mention is that if you wear prescription glasses, you might have issues with this dashcam. Your eyes might get tired quickly because you're switching between focusing on things that are far away when you're driving and something really close to your face, and that could be really dangerous. That's something I had not considered when I first got the dashcam because I just assumed it would be like looking into a normal rearview mirror, but obviously this is a screen, not a mirror, so the focal length is different and it can cause headaches when driving. Coming back to the user interface, if you tap on the screen you can see the different options. We can swipe left from the front camera to go to the gallery, which includes video playback, emergency file, and snapshot file. Video is pretty straightforward. If you tap on that, you can watch all the videos that have been recorded. So everything with a little R was recorded by the rear camera, with an F was recorded by the front camera. We can swipe through the recordings and tap on anyone to play it, and we've got the media controls on the right to play, pause, and scrub through the footage. If we go back and tap on emergency file, these are basically events that the camera has noticed that could be important. These files are locked, so when the microSD card gets full and it automatically wipes itself to record new footage, these files will not get deleted. So you can copy them to your phone or your computer and then use them for insurance purposes. The final option here is snapshots, which are basically pictures of important events. At least I think that's what it is. It's not exactly clear what they're for. Back on the main screen, if we swipe right, we go to the rear camera, and if we swipe right from here, we're back in the gallery. Unfortunately, it does not loop around, so you can only swipe all the way left or all the way right. You can't keep swiping indefinitely. But if we tap on the main screen again, the only other option here is settings. Here we can adjust things like Wi-Fi, microphone, volume, brightness, and the screen on time. You use the wireless network to connect it with your smartphone using the Road Angel app, and I'll post a separate video all about that. My microphone is muted, as it should be, but I'll share a snippet of the recording quality so you know how well it handles that. I'm going to go ahead and turn the speaker off. We've also got options for sensitivity, so it wants to know how often it should take screenshots and emergency recordings. I've set it at medium, and that seems to work well for me. You can also flip the rear camera so it shows you what things look like as the camera sees them, which messes with my brain, so I'm just going to leave that as is. You can adjust the angle for both cameras, which we've already discussed, and you can adjust the parking monitoring settings here as well. So this is basically how often it should record when the car is turned off, and what you would like so that it doesn't kill your car's battery. Finally, we can format the SD card, reset the camera, and just get information like the Wi-Fi password or the current firmware version. Now, when you first start your camera, you might notice that the date is wrong, and there's no way to change it through the settings itself. It took me a long time to figure this out, but you actually have to connect the camera to your phone using the Road Angel app, and then it will automatically update the date and time. It's a bit of a weird way to do it, but I guess it makes sure that things are synchronized. Again, I'll post a separate video all about the Road Angel app and how you can use it to access your files and settings and other features. That about covers the main stuff for these cameras, so all that's left is to look at the recording quality in different settings. So let's go take a look. We'll start off with footage during an overcast day with the sun peeking out behind some clouds. The front camera struggles when things move from dark to bright, and you can see that the sky gets blown out. But generally speaking, things like road signs and speed limits are visible and easy to read, and the recording footage is clear. Moving to the back camera on the same road, there is a bit of a downgrade in vibrancy. But remember that this is looking at the world through tinted glass, so that is to be expected. You can still see things clearly and read stuff like number plates and road signs, but it also struggles with contrast and going from dark to bright or bright to dark, especially when the sun shines directly at the camera. If we move on to later in the day, we're now on the motorway, it's closer to sunset and people's headlights are on. The front camera is still pretty clear and I can easily read all the road signs. The rear camera is doing okay, but you can start to see that the headlights are flaring up and they're shining bright. Thankfully, this doesn't affect visibility too much because it's still light outside. Finally, it's long after sunset and we're now in the city. There's a decent amount of surrounding light from the overhead street lights and traffic lights. My windshield is covered with dust and bugs and random streaks, so it's not the cleanest thing in the world, but the front camera footage is relatively decent. The back camera is also doing okay, but the footage is now definitely noisy. Anytime a light comes into view, it's bright and it brings a lot of lens flare into the footage. But having other sources of light is really helpful. For example, in this clip we're just about to enter a part of the journey where there are no overhead lights and the only illumination is other cars. The front camera is doing a solid job, but that's mostly because my headlights are on. The footage is surprisingly not that noisy. There is some glare from the lights, but it's not overwhelming. Signs are visible from a good distance away. It's situations like this where the rear camera really struggles. As soon as the streetlights go off, you can't see anything. And what you can see is just really noisy and grainy video. The moment we pass that truck with the flashing lights, it gets blindingly bright as the camera tries to figure out what it's looking at. But once we get back to the streetlights, visibility is decent again. And finally, this is what the microphones sound like on the Halo Vision. We're doing about 70 miles per hour on the motorway and the windows are closed. I'm sitting in the front passenger seat and hopefully it's picking up my voice clearly and there's not too much background noise. And I'll let it run for a few seconds. Now I know that in most of these clips the rear camera recording quality probably looks bad on whatever device you're watching this video on, but when you're driving and you're just glancing at a 10-inch screen, you don't really care about the quality. You just need to know if there's a vehicle behind you or in your blind spots, and the rear view mirror does this job well in areas with a lot of surrounding light. Speaking of which, there's one last thing I want to mention, and that's actually the screen brightness of the mirror itself. When I'm driving during the day, maximum screen brightness is great. When I'm driving at night, maximum screen brightness lights up the entire car. Because you have to, again, remember that this is a screen, not just a mirror. It's basically like having a little TV in your car. So I usually go with brightness set to medium for nighttime driving, or I just turn the screen off because I know it's still recording. All in all, I think that the Halo Vision is an excellent dashcam for day drivers or night drivers who only drive on well-lit roads. I would have liked a higher resolution for the back camera and something with better glare reduction, but I very rarely drive at night anyway, so the grainy footage isn't really a deal breaker for me. Whenever it's hard to see things from the rear camera, I like that I can switch to a normal mirror, even if I do have to adjust the angle manually. I hope this video helped you get a better idea of what it's like to have this kind of dashcam. I'll try to post a video for the Road Angel app when I have more time, but until then, if you have any questions or comments about anything, please let me know. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you're safe and well wherever you are in the world. This has been Zaeem Siddiqui from Zeus Reviews. Over and out.